Welcome. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. I am one of your hosts, Ace Harris, Reach Records, here with the amazing co-host, the best host, Meah. I slid in there. The best host, Meah Evans. I know this for a fact because I was literally interviewed by her at the Dove Awards this past week, and she interviewed me, and I was like, yo, Meah just know how to just...
Ace really thought he was going to slide by me and not get an interview. I was like, that's not even up for debate. Like, you're stuck now.
Yeah, it was cool. It was good. So, how are you feeling? How you coming in today?
Man, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm tired.
Really?
I'm tired. Not even just coming off of Doves that just happened this past weekend, but my parents just renewed their vows, celebrating 30 years of marriage. Amazing. So we had a wedding at our house. My mom says it was a vow renewal, but my parents never had a wedding. So it was like the whole nine, so family coming in, us like doing a whole lot of things ourselves. And right after that, Doves happened. So it was just like back-to-back things, getting back into like the swing of things, things like that. So I'm just trying to like recuperate, So
you had a busy weekend and a busy week, and so you looking forward to basically resting this weekend.
Yes.
Okay.
1,000%.
So what does rest look like this weekend? Like, is it just going Netflix? Is chilling?
Rest for me, I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes rest for me is kind of getting things back in order. So doing my laundry, making sure things as far as my house is taken care of, catching up on any lessons I got, talking back to my mentor, checking in with her. Just kind of like recuperating myself. And of course chilling, but a lot of the times even being at home, because when you're out and about, you got so many things like driving, it's just nothing. A part of that is restful, but being home,
sure,
getting yourself situated, or maybe even sometimes for me going to a coffee shop, something like that.
Okay,
it's where I can kind of really calm myself.
I love it. Yeah, I think nothing better than when you. Well, I can resonate with the feeling of being gone and busy.
Yeah,
and feeling like, man, I got laundry to do. I got things to do at home. I just need to sit still and do something. So I definitely resonate.
What about
with that.
you? Because you had a busy week coming back from Doves too.
Yeah, I mean it was pretty crazy, pretty busy. Family, I had to, my auntie's 74th birthday. Shout out my auntie Viola, love you so much. And then just family stuff. So I'm kind of just coming back. There's
no slow. It's going right back into it.
Yeah, back into it. But that's the way that it is, Meah, and I'm thankful to have. And I'm also excited to see my family when I come back. When I see my little man, I'm just like, man, I missed you, little bro. So it's busyness, it's crazy, and like I was telling Naja, work be crazy, but come Friday, Saturday, I pretty much turn it off. Mm-hmm. I'm just like a dad and a husband.
That's so healthy, bro.
And so if somebody texts me, if it ain't about the money, if you ain't got a check for your boy,
you can wait till Monday.
Bruh, if you got a problem for me that I really can't presently solve or just be present with to walk you through it, again, if you got a check for your boy, I might pick up that phone.
Bro, when I tell you the power of D&D, boy, I use that to my advantage on the weekends. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I'm already locked in trying to just get myself recuperated. So it's kind of having that barrier can just be healthy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Sometimes no, I'm not available.
Yeah,
and that's okay. And people have to understand that to be your best self, to be our best self, we need space to recuperate, rejuvenate. And some things are not urgent.
Yeah,
it may be important, but the world will not end today.
There's a difference.
It's not
between urgency and
that's
There's
urgency
a huge
and importance.
difference.
What's the difference for you? Did you feel that?
Urgency means it has to get done right now and right away. And something can be important, but it can be pushed off to a later date.
Yeah.
There's a total. I learned that not too long ago. I was like, that blew my mind. I was like, okay. I always ask, is this urgent? Okay, well I can get back to it. So it's little things like that can really create healthy boundaries for you when it comes to work and personal.
And like somebody told me before, your lack of planning isn't my emergency. I was like, yo, that's crazy.
That's a bar.
Yo, you didn't plan, so now I'm gonna be. But speaking of important, I think it was really important to have Christian hip hop represented at the Dove Awards. I'm not. Is it the 55th annual?
55th. Yeah.
But that number was easy to remember this year because it was 5 and 5, which is easier. For any other year, I'm like, I don't know.
What is the number?
The 28th,
right,
the 43rd. But 55th Dove Awards, which is that's a long time.
That's a long time.
Wow.
The growth has. I think the first Doves I went to was 45th. So 10 years now, seeing the growth that's happened, even just for the CHH space, but in just so many different ways of seeing how things are done on the carpet, the way how more people are being accepted into being on the carpet, being honored. It's really cool. It's really cool seeing. What do you think about the growth when you think about how? Because when was the first Doves you went to? You remember?
Honestly, I want to say it's been about it's 2024. I feel like my first one was in 2014, which may have been 10 years. I know that. I saw Triple E perform. I saw Andy Mineo perform, and I was nominated and won for best rap hip hop song of the year.
Was that the year Cray hosted?
KB 100. Cray hosted.
Okay, that was my first year.
Hey, we was
that was
there.
my first year. Yeah,
I know you back then.
I know. We was both there. Well, what do you think about seeing like compared to 2014 to the past ones you went to, even the most recent one? How do you feel like you've seen the growth?
I think one thing I think that has been really dope to see is just like more intentional. More intention about diversity. When I say diversity, specifically styles of music, number one, not even just ethnicity, styles of music represented colors of people, so culture, and then also women. So I think that, I don't think the Dove has been like totally off base, but I think there have been moments of opportunities of growth. And I think, shout out to the CEO and president, Jackie Patillo. So I think her being a Black woman, I think she obviously, it seems like she cares about it by the way she runs the organization and how they've been intentional about certain things. So I feel like this year was like, it's gotten better. And so you can always find things that you can critique, but overall, I think it's getting better, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, what about you?
I think the representation has grown immensely. You know, of course, like you said, always room for growth, but it's just I love seeing even more people in the Hispanic community being honored. I thought that was so beautiful. And just so many different cultures in general. I talked to an artist and he performed the Holy Forever mashup that they did. He was Portuguese and he had a translator there.
Gabriel.
So I was talking, Gabriel, on the carpet, and he was telling me that he first heard the song when he was driving and he got so emotional, and that's how how that song has really pierced him in a way, and how much it meant to him to be a part of the mashup that he was doing with Bethel. I don't know, even watching it I was watching from backstage, and I was just like, it was so powerful, bro. And even bringing like different cultures. I talked to, I think his name is Nico, he's collaborating. I talked to him and a couple of other artists as well who are also in the Hispanic community, and also Anike, you know, being represented there that night. And I love the representation. It's so important. With the theme even also being Unite the Song, and like with us all being, of course, believers, but we all come from different walks of life and backgrounds, and like, you know, we are brought up, our upbringing of Jesus is different, the way we sing to Jesus is different, and the way that all kind of came together that night, I thought that was really cool.
I totally agree. I think there was a lot of highlights. I mean, we probably can even just run through some of the highlights of the night of the Doves. I think off top, what comes to mind, and this is obviously because I'm biased, but Anike's performance was phenomenal. I mean, one
of the best performances of the night.
That's what I'm saying.
Shout out to Deja Hector and Ace Studios. Sure. Deja being the creative director for her performance and also always choreographing for Anike. That I had chills, Ace. Yeah. I was in the nosebleeds, but when I tell you it was so well done. Yeah,
it was. I think apparently Anike was saying she didn't have a lot of time to prep because it was on vacation, and then I think what stood out about her performance was how she used that moment and platform to elevate other women. I mean, like, how gracious is that, right? So she brought out Lee Vasi, I think
Portia
Queen
Love.
Lee, Portia Love. Who else was on there?
Toya Love, Angie Rose.
Yeah. So, I definitely think that her performance was a standout, and it was like, it was so energetic and so full. Like, it wasn't just like a rap performance. She's obviously a rapper and from the Christian hip hop community, but it was literally like a actual production what she did, which I think gives hip hop more credibility, and kind of dismissing the notion that, man, hip hop artists, when they get on stage, they don't really own that stage or whatever, which has been some critique I've heard over the years.
Really?
Yeah, just like, because rap is a different type of performance. In a setting where people are like singers, guitars, big instruments, and vocalists.
Oh, wow.
So I've heard people feel like hip hop sometimes doesn't move the room the way it could, which is like, because it's a different type of energy, because you're basically getting the crowd through projection, through cadence, and obviously through Anike through dance, versus like sitting up there and like being like Natalie Grant and just like singing, you know. So it's just a different type of
even shout out to Anike, because I didn't know this until I got there. I didn't know that she was the first woman in CHH to be able to perform. That's huge, Ace.
That's huge.
Like I don't know. It's something about that. And then also, I think what even spoke more volumes, like you were saying about her bringing other women along with her. That's just so admirable to me, because you could easily be like, okay, this is, I got to focus on me in this moment. But being willing to bring other women along with you just to share that moment, to share the stage with them, I just think that's just so commendable. It was powerful.
And speaking of bringing people along, shout out KB and his speech, man. Now,
speech of the night.
Oh my gosh. So good. I mean, he obviously won, best like album of the year in the rap category. But he, as I see him like walking up, I'm kind of sitting to the stage, right? And I'm seeing him like motion up some of the guys that were in the category. I mean, obviously, I don't know if he brought up everybody, because it was just kind of like whoever was sitting next to him. But he brings them up, and Tripley and then Craig comes on stage. And it was just a moment. He talk about using your platform to speak truth and to like galvanize a community. So it felt like that award wasn't just his, it felt like it was everybody's. So that was super dope. What other highlights did you see like at the Dove Awards that kind of stood out to you?
Other highlights that stood out to me. You brought up a great point. I was going to bring that up with KB. I thought that was just...
Sure. You know what? I would say something that stood out to me too. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
There were some great testimonies. Shout out for King of Country. Like, even outside of just Christian hip hop, sometimes the knack or the critique of award shows, especially Christians at award shows, we're going to get into that later. That's a whole complicated conversation. But I think sometimes it can feel, for some, not me, is that it could feel like performative. It's like, this is like the height and the Christian entertainment epicenter, right? And so you have the who's in the Christian music industry. And so imagine this stage where we're giving out awards of who has the best art. And so sometimes the exchanges, sometimes the speeches can feel, for some, not me, performative. It's like, yo, I just want to give all the glory to God. I didn't expect it. Sometimes it can feel like, okay, all right, bro.
Yeah, I feel you.
But I think that hearing the heart and testimony, like King and Country, they won. I think they won for like best film.
Yeah.
Unsung Hero, I believe is what it's called. And the movie was about their journey and their parents coming from Australia, like being like leaving, like losing everything and coming to America to start a new life. And man, they gave a speech and had their parents share the testimony and the power of God. And the dad just talked about the power of the local church, saying, quote, if you want to change the world, plug into your local church and start there. Yeah. And I was like, what a great way, what a great speech at the Dove Awards, when it can be easy to kind of just be like performative or like a little like vague or a little like cliche. And he gave like a very specific admonishment to the culture about, this is great. Plug into your local church. That's how you change the world. Yeah. So I thought that was great.
Dang, bro, that's so admirable.
Yeah.
For real. I think a performance that stood out to me was Natalie Grant, bro. Oh my gosh. And it's crazy because I knew Natalie Grant could sing. But I know she could sing like that.
Yo, I say more.
I was backstage and we were all listening to watching the TV, because in the press room they turn off the TVs when someone comes back there to ask questions, but like they turn it back on for us to be able to watch too. And I was sitting next to my sister, and there was a woman who was sitting in front of us, and I remember there was a woman across the room. And I love being Black for this reason, just because we all did the same reaction when she hit a certain note. Because how we get down, Ace, when Black people, we hear a note being hit, we gotta say something about that. Natalie hit a note, and all of us were like, like I remember looking, and I was like, see, we are all just. I say all that to say that she did that. I think it was a memorial just for the lives that were lost that year, with Mandisa and a lot of other artists as well. And she sang that song so beautifully and didn't put too much into it, but they got the right person.
Oh my goodness. To God, and the song was "To God Be the Glory."
Yes.
So I think there were like worshipful, reverent moments at the Doves that I think sometimes people gloss over Christian award shows and feel like it's just kind of like I said, cliche, but no, there were like powerful moments on that stage. Like, even you speaking of her singing that song, leading up to it was Torrin Wells, who was the host, kind of remembering Mandisa and playing a voice note of encouragement she gave him a couple years ago about his album coming out, and just that powerful moment of it reminded me of the power moment of testimony, the power of encouraging others, right? And she's now gone, and she is an artist. I mean, regardless of how you feel about the CCM industry, the music, here are Christians, here are believers encouraging each other in the faith. Like and now she's gone, but that encouragement lives on forever.
Yeah.
And so then Natalie Grant comes on stage and sings the song "To God Be the Glory." So those are powerful takeaways for me as someone. I mean, those are not necessarily Christian hip hop moments, but those are moments in the Christian industry to affirm, like, hey, there's some good happening here. We may not agree with everything. We may not like all the way that some things may be packaged or put together, but I feel like the Holy Spirit is using these artists to do something great that is like respectable and credible. So
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I agree. I had to even remind myself. Well, I don't know. I think I just sensed it when, because of course, you know, Queen Cece, she opened up the show, and Cece Winans could do no wrong, I don't think, in anybody's eyes. And I don't know, it was just something about seeing everybody react to, like, you know, a powerful opening like that, and even just the song that she's saying. It's just remembering that God gets the glory from all of it, from all of us in different genres. It was a great uniting moment. For sure.
I had a good time. But yeah, so we'll definitely come back and talk about more of the highlights on the Dove Awards. This is the 116 Life Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. I'm here with Meah Evans. I'm Ace Harris. We'll be right back, y'all. Welcome back, y'all. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 140. I'm your host, Ace Harris, here with
Meah Evans. We're talking about the Dove Awards and just giving our thoughts on it. And like how we were saying before, there's a lot of areas where the Doves went right. But of course, there's always room for improvement and different things like that. And we're just chopping it up, talking about what those areas could have been. I thought I'll let you go first, Ace.
Okay. So yeah, I think there's a lot to. I always something that Kyle Korver, former NBA player and obviously a Christian man, something he said to sent to me and a group of people before, which always resonated with me. Shout out Kyle Korver. He said the best way to critique the bad is to practice the better. And I was like, wow, what a beautiful way to not lean into sharp rebuke and criticism without providing solutions. So I think we did highlight some of the great things that happened, but I think there's always room to talk about what things could be better. And so even to kind of keep another highlight going, shout out, I think, the rap hip hop category for song. I thought like seeing Anike nominated was another thing of having a woman represented. And also shout out Hovey and Tory Deshawn for the win. I feel like Hovey's in a place where his name is getting more recognition, which is great. And I think it was really great to have someone like Tory Deshawn, who's featured on that song, him and Alex Jean, win. So it's like I love when the wins are like collective because it shows that. So now you could, Tory Deshawn and Alex Jean, like, yo, Dove Award winning, can add that subtitle to which I think is great for artists who may have a more, like, still a growing platform, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's good. But speaking of representation, I think sometimes, even though there was like a lot of representation on stage, Meah, and I think diversity was thought about, there was people included, I think sometimes on the categories, and I've had this takeaway or pushback even at the Grammys, the major categories, when it's like song of the year, artist of the year, album of the year, those categories, it's always kind of interesting how we got the nominations. And so I would say specifically, I think that the song of the year category could be more diverse in terms of representation. I mean, there were probably 9 songs that were nominated. And for those who aren't aware of, so I'll just list them off.
Yeah, go ahead.
All Things, and also Song of the Year, I think, awards the songwriter, so it's not necessarily the artist, but the artist that sings them may make the song more popular. So I'm gonna say this one. So you have Firm Foundation, I think it's a Maverick City song, which Cody Carnes wrote. You had Holy Forever, which I think is a Bethel Music song.
Yes, you're right.
Jen Johnson, shout out Jen Johnson. You had I Believe It, which is a John Reddick song, and then you had More Than Able, which is that a Elevation Worship song? Yeah, Elevation Worship. Then you had Praise, which is another Elevation Worship song.
You're right, yeah.
Let's keep going. Then you had Praise You Anywhere, which is a Brandon Lake song. Then you had Thank God I Do with Lauren Daigle. This Is Our God, Phil Wickham. Trust in God. I think it's another Elevation, or Chris Brown from Elevation.
Yes. Yeah, Elevation.
So, okay.
Dang,
and then you have
the
Kirk
category?
Franklin, All Things. So my pushback is, if these are, I think I listed 9. There's one, so you can argue that some of the writers on some of the songs, like Chandler, Naomi, are of color, and representation is there if the word is going to songwriters. But if the song is popularized by the performers or the culture and distinction of the song, I will argue there's only like one culturally black song in the mix.
Yeah.
You can say Firm Foundation, kind of. But I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Like Kirk Franklin. Yeah.
So I feel like it just feels a little like amiss to how do we get there? If this is the song of the year in the whole industry, there's like one song that I think like represents black culture, or even if you even argue Latin culture.
Yeah, right? I was going to say that too, because there are a lot of Latin categories, which is great. But if we're talking, I agree with that. If we're talking about the whole year, song of the year, that's I would like for that to be more inclusive of also, gospel faces, and even also
maybe hip hop,
or
even this he's not hip hop, and he's obviously a white artist. I feel like I'm surprised that Forrest Frank doesn't have a song of the year category, because I feel like he's been doing crazy. He's maybe outside of the Christian industry, or it kind of built his presence more on the internet and outside of the normal CCM structures, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm surprised that he don't have a song of the year here, when I feel like his song was crushing.
Yeah.
So I think the how we get there was a little interesting.
Yeah.
And that sounds interesting. Sounds like petty. I just say that it sounds like a miss. Let me just call it how it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word interesting to be dismissive, and how some people do. It's like, I'm gonna kind of critique, but not always
give all the way.
I think it was a miss. So what are your thoughts?
I think from a media standpoint.
Yeah.
Because this is my 4th year doing red carpet at the Doves, and it's always great. And that's one thing I do like about Doves is the diversity. There have been times in the past where I've interviewed not just gospel or not just CHH, but even CCM. I love that. I love being the wide range, because even sometimes I even learn about certain artists and things like that. This year was different, however, because in hindsight, after looking through all the interviews and things like that, I only interviewed people of color, and I didn't interview anybody in the CCM category, which was very interesting to me. Because usually, the way the red carpet works, for those who don't know, is there's a publicist that goes along with every artist. That's usually how it goes, where they talk to the outlets and say, hey, I'm representing so-and-so, they have this going on, would you mind doing an interview with them? And I don't turn anybody away. I just love talking to everybody, because because the theme of the night in Doves is always about unity and bringing all genres together. I just love talking to everybody. And this year, there were publicists that did come up before the carpet started, but once things got kind of rolling, no one was I don't want to say all of a sudden. That's not accurate. Those PR, those publicists, and then also artists, they weren't coming to me. I'll just say speak on behalf of me, because I can't speak on behalf of anybody else. I just thought that was interesting, just knowing from times past of me being able to interview a wide range of artists. But then also, I'd also want to take into account that I was on the back end of the carpet, and there was also...
You was in the Rosa Parks section.
I was in the Rosa... Why would you say that? I was towards the back end, but in times past, Doves used to be one big carpet, which I like, because it was one way to get in, one way to get out, and you had the chance of getting an artist because you had to leave out that end. But I don't think also a lot of artists or publicists, maybe even, I don't know, maybe they didn't know that there was another side of the carpet. So I don't want to give it be harsh on that entirely, but that was a big observation to me. And I would have loved to interview artists like Kane and for King and Country and Forrest Frank, and artists like that. Not saying that they didn't want to, but I also think that some publicists may be strategic on who to. I think going to a TBN or going to a CCM magazine may be different than going to a 94.5 in Dallas gospel station. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I think that maybe even they may be strategic on who the platform that they think may be knowledgeable of the artist.
Sure.
Which I wouldn't suggest, just because to go off of solely off of how a person, I don't want to say this bad, but appears.
Sure.
Because you may not think that because I'm a Black woman, I may not know CCM, but I do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I
do.
think just being more open to letting all artists talk to all platforms.
And
I think
something the publicists themselves need to be more educated
I think it's a publicist thing. I think I don't charge an artist or anything like that. I think it's solely public.
So it's like a cultural blind spot of the publicist representing the artist.
Yes.
That you think that maybe they assume that they don't. This person. I see 3 Black people, and I don't know if they know our artists.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily like you feel like a. Are you saying it's more like a miss or like not necessarily a critique, but it's almost like they're just underestimating.
I think it's underestimating because even if you see a Black host, you think their audience is Black. Or if, like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So therefore they may not think, their audience won't know who it is. And I don't think to assume that, I don't think that's wise.
I would say on one end, I did feel like once I turned that corner, because I was on the red carpet as well, I didn't know there was another strip.
Yeah.
And I remember I told you, hey, by the way, if I see anybody I know, I'll just grab them, because I was like, because I mean, obviously I know Forrest, and I feel like he was definitely getting pulled in a lot of different places.
He was getting pulled,
but I was like, yo, if I'm here and he's walking by, I got you. And I also feel like, I think being on the backside around the corner for any outlet, it's you're at a disadvantage to get people, because some folks didn't really know that it was there, and then some folks maybe at that juncture feel like, yo, I'm kind of getting tired.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to charge it completely, because that I'm very new to the new setup of how the carpet is set up.
I will say I like the setup, because in that sometimes outside be getting hot.
Yeah.
Because like a couple times I've been like, the carpet is lights.
Yeah, but it gets hot.
And you got your
and also equipment being there. So it's like, so I think it's a wiser move.
Got the greasy brow going on.
For real. But I wish, I think maybe even them being more of, I don't know. I'm trying to think of ways how they could be able to do the carpet.
Why do we need that wall? Oh, you need the wall. But
I think the wall is needed.
Can you flip the wall like?
Or I'm thinking maybe if they do it like, you know how like on the other side, the wall is what the backdrop. I'm thinking maybe if we do it the other side. Oh, okay. So it's like, it's just big and open.
Sure, maybe big and open.
Yeah.
I can see that. But yeah, I think something else I think stood out, which is like, we can get into this a little bit more, which is like an interesting tension with award shows and Christians. This has happened in any award show and culture generally, like even a mainstream award shows, like categories and artists who have had a long career. And some would say a legacy career. I know that word may be dismissive to some, but I would say artists like a CeCe Winans, like a Natalie Grant, have like a legacy career. I would say artists like a Lecrae have like a legacy career in terms of the amount of years they've been doing this. So or Kirk Franklin, right? So I feel like when artists like that are in categories, I think it signals to vote, because it's how award shows work. There's voters. There's people who are members who have voting, who are able to vote. They have voting eligibility. And so those people know the industry. And I wonder if the human conscience is at times voting based on someone's legacy and not based on the actual art or the year in which the art is nominated for. Yeah. And so like that has to be a thing, right? I mean,
I agree. I remember one year where Craig got on Instagram and was like, hey, I want to say thank you for the Doves nominating me. Anyone who's in the voting, who's in charge of the voting, do not vote for me. I remember that because I was like, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like not because that's a bad thing, because of course, but it's not foreign for Craig to win. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not. And and when he did that, I just thought that was commendable, because sometimes those who are in charge of the voting or play a hand in the voting process, they don't look twice at the other artists, which is so unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. And we say they don't look twice because of the name that they're so familiar with is already
it's easier because we know this artist is great because they won times before. I believe that they're probably the best out of all of them, and that's not fair.
It's not, and so it's like anything in any democratic process, you are putting the decision on the people to decide, and people are we familiarity is a big part of how we make decisions. I'm going to go with the most familiar thing, and may not. Are the voters, and me being a voter myself, am I looking through, I see my man here who I know, but did this person have who my opinion, not a better, that word sounds so icky, but was their work more standout this year than this person? I think this person had a better shot. They actually deserving of an award based on this year, on this time construct, and this year for this 54, who had the better? And I think specifically, I'm trying to be careful and not criticizing, but I do feel like sometimes the Artist of the Year category, shout out the amazing CeCe Winans, who I feel like has probably won a million Dove Awards.
She was nominated for Artist of the Year.
And she won. So I feel like, dang, you
Are you for real?
Yes, I think sometimes the amazing juggernaut artist in certain categories is a disadvantage for other artists because the voting people, the human consciousness is going to pick what's familiar. Because they know it. And I wonder if they're doing, it's not even the artist's fault.
No,
it's like the voters like, hey, by the way, this huge artist who's amazing and one of everything is in this category, so I'm just gonna default them. Yeah. Where I feel like, I think that's happened in Christian hip hop for sure. It has. And not to take away anybody's win, but I think it's happened in Christian hip hop. I think it's definitely happened in the Artist of the Year category, Song of the Year. So it's like, how can we give space for people who may not have as much popularity, who've had significant impact that year to have a better chance of winning. You know what I'm saying? So we can probably, and then it's like, which we're gonna get into in a little bit, then why does the win even matter? As a whole conversation. So we'll get into that. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. We'll be right back, y'all. Welcome back, y'all. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 140. I'm here with the amazing Meah Evans, talking about the Dove Awards, Christian hip hop, Christian culture, doing some like takeaways on what we experienced. Also, I forgot to mention this. Shout out the Reach Records and Indie Tribe after party.
Oh man, this is my first year going.
Man,
it was a great time.
It was, man. I feel like it gets better every year.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. People. It was getting packed as the night was getting on, and we couldn't even let everybody else in.
Is it not always like that packed, or?
It was packed. It's getting more packed each year. Like this, it's our third year doing it, I believe. Last year was but this year was like, it was just deep. Yeah. So it was great. I think someone said, this is probably the funnest after because it's like it's just more laid back, and that's how we want it to be. I think maybe hip hop culture just naturally like that, where it's like feel like a cookout. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think Adil was talking. He was like, sometimes going into these spaces, you may feel uncomfortable because you say CHH, like, where you work for, like the genre you subscribe to. Yeah. And you kind of have to like try to fit in, but like honestly going in, everybody kind of knows of everybody. You know what I'm saying? So it felt very lax. It was one of my favorite parts.
And I think those moments are also unifying, so that we can sometimes there's like subtle infighting. Not anybody there, but just even online in Christian hip hop, you see little things that pop up where it's like this person has issue, or I think it's just good to show unity, like visibly, and to model it, and so that we can just remind ourselves, even in our differences, that we're united on our convictions and our faith, and that we're stewarding Christian hip hop from a place of togetherness and not a place of like competition or division, which is easy to get there because rap is such a competitive sport. It's easy to kind of have some energy like that. So I think it was good.
I agree 1,000%.
Speaking of like togetherness and like unity, there can sometimes be disunity at award shows, which is interesting because I understand there's a lot of different takeaways. Let me ask you this, Meah. What is your knee-jerk, like, spiritual perspective, righteous perspective on Christian award shows? Like, do you have any thoughts about the idea of an award show for Christian music, creating categories, deciding what something's better, or I guess by contrast, worse? How do you feel about that in general?
If I could be honest with you, it doesn't bother me as much, or I don't have a huge stance on it. What about you? What do you think?
Oh, that's interesting. I have slight reservations historically of like award shows, especially in the Christian industry, and how to make sense of it. Now, top level, I think it's fine. I think we should honor people for the work that God has given us. It glorifies God. It brings people together. It's excellence in craft. It's celebrating your peers.
What do you mean by top level?
Meaning like overarching, I don't have a view of Christian war shows are inherently unbiblical or ungodly.
Got you. Okay, yeah.
I think it's fine. I don't think it's a wrong or right thing. I don't think it's sinful. I think God allows for it. Low level, inner feelings are, is this like everything that's permissible, is it profitable? Meaning, is it good to have a award show where you're giving your peers awards, and by honoring one person, you signal to the other people that you're not as honorable by default. Because if you, like, some people say, well, we're celebrating the wins, but how do the people who didn't win feel? What does that say to my song if my song is not winning of Song of the Year? Is like, what is that communicating? Does that mean that my song is less impactful spiritually? What does it mean? You know what I'm saying? So especially outside of the church, I totally get that. But when the craft is created for the kingdom, for His glory, and we're essentially creating, like, we're weighting the scales a little bit. So I always wrestle with that.
Really?
Yeah.
I think
I really do.
I don't know, Ace. Okay, let me say this first. I see 100% where you're coming from, because I think people can lean into that, and sometimes artists can get butthurt, and like their self-esteem can get shot.
Sure.
I don't know. I think that's more of a heart posture for an artist to make sure that it's more of a heart posture for an artist to make sure that that's not going to their head or to their esteem.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
The win or the loss?
You know, because I feel like there's nothing wrong with being honored. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's okay. And that's just that's my take on it. But I think where that creeps in of jealousy or competition or oh, my work isn't good enough, or how dare they not recognize me, entitlement, pride. I think that can be a heart posture for an artist or those who are being honored. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think there's anything wrong, like you, with the overarching idea, but I think to avoid those thoughts and those prerogatives is you got to check yourself at first, because honestly you're gonna really end up hurting yourself and hurting your own feelings, because no one really, because I mean I understand the overarching of we voted and we like this one more, but that doesn't mean that yours isn't great, because like I would like to think that that's not what we're trying to say. It just happened that there was, okay, I'm kind of seeing where you're coming from when I'm talking about it.
I hear what you're saying. And I've also talked to people in categories that have lost, and I've debriefed with them about how they feel.
Okay.
And there has been like discouragement, disappointment, dissatisfaction, and then, dare I say, discontentment. Because what you're arguing is contentment shouldn't be validated by this award, win or lose, right? Our contentment should be anchored in something bigger than this award.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
But how do I reconcile people who are like communicating feelings of disappointment if they didn't win? Like, what do you say to that person?
Was this the goal? Like, was this your why? You know what I'm saying? That's the only reason why I say that. Like, when someone is disappointed, like, was this like where did this rank on like your priority list?
That's good.
And I don't mean this in a bad way, because I'm sensitive to that, because everybody wants to be recognized, and when you put in a lot of work, you want to be able to. That's a way of exposure. I can imagine the good that comes out of that. But if this is it, and this was your only ceiling, I'm kind of questioning you in a sense of like you said, contentment. You know, if getting a award was your only way of feeling valued.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. If this award, so what you're saying is like, if you're disappointed in a way where this award meant so much to you, where it's affecting how you see yourself, maybe how others see you, how God sees you, maybe that's a point. Maybe that's a wrestle that you need to go take it to the Lord, essentially. And that shouldn't be the outcome, right? But I mean, even someone specifically who shout out Forrest Frank, who won New Artist of the Year, which I think was very deserving. And he actually made a comment that I think made people think, which I've already kind of had this thought in my head too, which he said, man, he said he wasn't even sure if he was going to come. He's trying to understand like Christians and award shows and understanding what that means. And I think that's a fair question to ask. Like, how do we feel about giving each other awards for art that's for the glory of God in a way where people are voting on it, ranking it essentially? Do I think it's wrong? No. Do I think it's okay? Yes. Are there hard questions about how we do this that makes me wonder, is this good for everybody involved? Because I've literally talked to people who have lost, and there have been takeaways and feelings of feeling slighted, feeling like this was an injustice.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, yo, this was an injustice. I should have won. And then the question becomes, so you should have won an award by your peers that says your version of your art to God is the best. Then the question is like, why is this thing even being weighted like such? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so why is, and then the bigger question to ask is, why does this thing have so much value? Why is it that important to you? And this is so churchy and so cliche, but it has to be said because I think it's important. It should be rewards over awards, right? It should be eternal rewards over earthly awards. That should be our heart posture. I mean, would you agree with that?
No, I would.
But in reality, when you lose, that's not what I see.
Yeah, right.
As someone who's won, I mean, not to brag, I've won many. I've won Grammys. I've lost too, and I've seen how people react on the W's and the L's, and I just sit back and just be like, what is this? This thing means a lot, clearly. But let's dig. I want to understand, and maybe is it the industry? Is it the form? Is it the actual structure that needs to be questioned, changed, adjusted, or is it the parts of the heart that needs some work? I don't know which one. I'm not giving a solution here. I'm just asking a question. Yeah. What do these things do to the postures of our hearts? You know what I'm saying?
I think the show, the industry will always place the weight. I think that goes between mainstream and even Christian. I think the weight's always going to be there. Sure. But there have been times when I've interviewed people who have won Doves, Stellars, Grammys, things like that, where you say, oh, a Dove Award winning, how does it feel? And they say, man, like, all glory to God. Like, at the end of the day, it's great to be recognized, but God gets the glory. That's the only reason why I say, I said the heart posture thing, because I feel like the weight is always going to be there. It's an award, for crying out loud. You're in front of people. It's on TV. The weight's always going to be there. How are you going to receive it? Like, how are you going to carry it?
There you go.
I think that's that needs to be, I feel like that's what kind of needs to be the end all be all. I feel like you kind of set the standard. You make the decision on how else is going to weigh on me.
Ooh, you preaching. Now you just gave me a lot of revelation there. Yeah. You're saying like, how do we receive this award? Win or lose? Yeah. How do we receive the win? And how do we receive the loss? Yeah. Says a lot about the posture and the condition of our hearts. And that's something maybe no structural award show or industry can regulate for you. That's seems to be like that's a hard thing between you and your God. You know what I'm saying? Because I have literally sat and felt at times like low key like sad for people that have been so sad that they lost. I'm like, yo, man, are you okay? It's okay, man.
Yeah,
like next year, buck off. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I understand. I'm like, duh, this thing weighs a lot. And so, and on the other side, shout out to my dad, rest in peace, the great William BGK Bishop Harris. He will honor people all the time in my former church. I mean, my dad has given certificates for the most random acts of.
For real?
I mean, he loves honoring people. So I think I want to err on the side of it's great to honor people. We should not. I'm not saying we dismiss this thing that we call award show. I'm not on a extreme view of it. I just wanted to ask the question about how does it sit in the posture of our hearts when people are literally affected by these things and they're disappointed, grieved, feeling like they got an injustice against them, they didn't win. So, but I would rather honor people and help people who didn't win understand what it really means, and not try to overcorrect and say we're not gonna honor nobody.
Yeah, right. Get rid of it.
What do you say?
Like get rid of the whole thing.
Yeah, just tear it down, man. We're just gonna make music. It's only for God, and it's not about the art. I mean, sometimes that can feel heavy-handed too. I think God does want us to honor each other, even like the text that Mandisa said to Torrent.
Yeah,
I think encouragement is good, but I just think it is interesting how these things affect the postures of our heart when people lose. So I think you definitely gave me some wisdom in saying, how do we receive it? I think that's really good.
I'm not gonna lie to you, it's eye-opening to me because I never really thought that anyone ever felt like, oh man, I didn't win. I thought that because everyone's always like, glory to God, I'm so happy to be here, win or lose. Are you for real? Like, that's why I'm kind of like, dang, people really be hurt, but they're entitled to that. I just, I don't know, that was eye-opening to me.
It hurts people. I mean, we the creative heart, the creative mind, it's a unique sensitivity. Not to say it's more, I'm not trying to make that argument, but people who create art for consumption and critique, there's a sensitivity attached to that thing that's like interesting with artists. And I just want to be sensitive to the artists and how they are feeling at award shows when their song or thing is nominated and they're sitting down and they want to win. And I think God redeems our desire. So I think there's nothing wrong with desiring to be noticed, right? If it's from the right place. But then in that moment, it's and someone who you think was less deserving wins, and you're like, hold up. How are they supposed to feel, right? And so then I'm like, well, how does this structure create this environment where they're feeling like this? And is the question. But like anything, I guess like a basketball game in youth sports, you win some, you lose some. And how you receive the loss or the win should represent how it should reflect the posture of your heart. And it takes me back to a Bible verse I want to read, which I think will kind of wrap us up here. Colossians 3, verse 23 through 24. This is the American Standard Version. Actually, I'll read a better version. American, Whatever you do, do your work heartily, as for the Lord rather than for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance. It is the Lord Christ whom you serve. And I feel like that should be like the foundation for all the work that we do, especially in the artist community, especially in Christian music, especially in anything that's being awarded. We should have a heart that seeks to be rewarded for it serving God over each other and our own vanity. So I think that's enough said on that.
Bible gonna hit everything.
It's gonna let you know, right?
Every time.
It's gonna let you know. This is it. We'll definitely tap in with y'all next episode. This is the 116 Life Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. Tap in next time. See y'all.